and honor you for the work that you have done. If you haven't already done so, please turn your communication devices to silent or off. Let me begin by thanking our Board of Supervisors and County Administrator Tim Hemstreet for all of their support. The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System is made up of hundreds of committed men and women, volunteer and career, sworn and civilian. And tonight we take the time to acknowledge and honor you who went above and beyond the call of duty, whether during your work hours or your non-work hours. You have earned recognition by demonstrating our core values of teamwork, integrity, professionalism, and service. Please join me now as we begin tonight's program by honoring the United States of America with a presentation of colors by the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System Honor Guard, the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the national anthem, who will be sung by Karen Hertel. Following those events, Chaplain Danny Butler of Percival Fire will offer an invocation. Please stand. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, our bombs bursting in, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Chaplain Butler.
Good evening, and welcome to this 6th annual awards banquet, benefit, all the above. Because when we go home, we'll celebrate and we will feast and we'll have a good time in the memories of what our men and women have done today in celebrating them at this award ceremony. At this present time, I'd like to ask each one of you to join me as I offer a blessing in my faith, and that you join me in offering a blessing in your faith. Heavenly Father, we're humbly gathered here this evening to celebrate and honor the achievements of our brothers and sisters. It is with much gratitude that you are bringing us together, guiding each one of these individuals on their path of hard work and dedication in the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue community. I thank you, Father, for their families who support our members with their love, patience, and understanding. Let us celebrate now and shine your light on the presenters and the recipients during this ceremony. I ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. We are honored this evening to have a significant number of our leadership here, both from the government and from the system itself. I would like to take a moment to recognize them. From our Board of Supervisors, we are honored to have Chair Phyllis Randall present. Supervisor Sylvia Glass. And Supervisor Mike Turner. From the County Administration, Ms. Erin McGlellan, Assistant County Administrator, and County Administrator Tim Hemstreet. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Chief Officers and Command Staff of the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System. And just an aside, having done this now for 6 years, I believe this is the largest crowd of our command staff that has been present for one of these events. So thank you very much. First and foremost, of course, System Chief Keith Johnson. Assistant Chief of Volunteer Services and Support Administration, Travis Pro. Our Operational Medical Director, Dr. John Morgan. Deputy Chief Aaron Jacobs. Deputy Chief Todd Lupton. Deputy Chief Corey Parker. Deputy Chief Jamie Cooper. Deputy Chief Roger Martin. Deputy Chief Jason Collins. Deputy Chief Nicole Pickerel. Deputy Chief Randy Shank. Deputy Chief Fire Marshal Micah Kiger. And Maria Taylor and Mary McGuire. Representing the System Executive Committee this evening is Emergency Medical Services Operations Committee Chair and Rescue Chief of Sterling Rescue, Kathleen Harasek. Representing the Fire Operations Committee is the Chair and Purcellville Fire Chief, Scott Maple. We're also very thankful this evening to have Public Information Officer Laura Reinhardt joining us. At this time, I would like to invite Chair Randall and the members of the Board of Supervisors forward to make a comment.
Well, good evening. Good evening. That's what I'm talking about. So I walked in this morning and Captain Galino goes, "You weren't on our list. We didn't know you were coming." And I'm like, have I ever missed? Have I ever missed? So I said to him, from now on, just assume if I don't say I'm not coming, just assume I'm coming and put me on the list every time. So I'm really happy to be standing here with Supervisor Mike Turner from the Ashburn District, Supervisor Sylvia Glass from the Broad Run District, who I also think, since they have been in office, have never missed a program. Every time I'm honored to be here, I say much the same thing, but I'm going to go a little further this time. I always talk about the importance of you all taking care of each other and the fact that overall, first responders, when you all take care of each other very well. However, there are times that when you have a behavior or mental health issue, you actually don't always know how to do that. You talk to one another and you tell hilariously inappropriate jokes because that's what people who are first responders do, because that's how you get past your trauma, is to tell hilariously inappropriate jokes, and you laugh at things that everybody be looking at you like, why are you laughing at that? That is not funny. And it actually is funny. But sometimes there are times when you need more than that. So recently, I learned that at the state level, if someone has a mental or behavioral health issue or a trauma issue, there is not the same coverage or not the same ability to take paid leave off as there is if they had a physical issue. I didn't know that. And my first response to you all is, I apologize that I didn't know that. I was a little bit shocked when I found out because as a mental health therapist, I always say mental health is health. My promise to you, though, is this. For the General Assembly session just ended, so we can't do anything this year because the General Assembly session has just ended. But next year, I will put forward in our legislative agenda legislation to change that. And so if you have a traumatic episode, even if you have a response to that traumatic episode many months later, because that's how trauma works, you have an episode and then you won't have a response to the episode until many months later. You might hear a song or something happens. You might walk into a building, smell a smell, and you have a response reaction. At that moment, the insurance doesn't cover you anymore. That's not how that's supposed to work. And so I will put forward legislation in our package to change that. Now, and this is not a political statement, it's just a fact, I have to get reelected to do that. But even if I don't get reelected, and I do really want to get reelected, but even if I don't, I will make sure that I have written it up and I will share that with whomever is sitting in the chair's office next time, because it's that important for me to make sure that that is done. So I cannot say, seriously, as someone who talks about this all the time, as a mental health therapist, how sorry I am that I didn't realize that that was I would call it a loophole, but it's more of a flaw because people don't see mental health as health, but it's a flaw that we will fix. I will also say that I might be reaching out to some of you because when we go to the General Assembly, the chief will tell you that we often need lots of voices down there. And so I'll be reaching out to you all as well as your state associations to come help with those issues. Finally, I will say the thing that I do always say, which is, one, congratulations for tonight's on your promotions and your recognitions tonight. But also, thank you so much for what you do. People say to me sometimes, like, your job is really hard. And, my job is hard enough. But my job's not you all's job. If I get a legislation wrong or vote wrong on an issue, it's not a life or death moment. It's just not. You all have life and death moments every single day. And whether you're a career or volunteer, you literally making decisions every day that impact someone's life. And it impacts their lives on the toughest moment and the worst moments of their life. You stand up and you're there for them and you take care of them. And it doesn't matter if it's the career system or the volunteer system, you show up just the same, with the same professionalism, with the same courtesy, and treating everyone with respect and dignity. My only ask of you all is the ask I ask every time, which is to take care of yourselves, and to take care of one another, because we absolutely need you in the county. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Randall. At this time, I'd like to invite System Chief Keith Johnson to welcome you and share a few remarks. Chief.
Thank you, Stephen, and I'll be brief. We have a lot of awards to get to and a great crowd here tonight, so thank you all for coming. Just a little background. We remind everybody each year of a little background of how we got started into the 6th Annual Awards and Recognition Ceremony. So we established our work group for the system-wide awards in May 11th of 2015. Prior to that, we really had no system-wide awards. Each individual volunteer company, each organization had their own awards program. And it's really good that we all get together as a system to recognize each other in the awards that we hand out today. The procedure that I spoke about, was established and approved by the Executive Committee on May 31st of 2016. So that's when we started this ceremony and all the awards that are recognized tonight. The purpose of it is to recognize our personnel who distinguish themselves in the performance of their duties and contribute significantly to the achievement and goals of the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System. And this applies to all members of our system. We have numerous awards tonight that you'll be hearing about. We have 18 different various achievement awards. We have recognition in our awards policy for ALS, Hazmat, Honor Guard, Swiftwater, and various other specialty components. We have program completion awards for Chief Fire Officer, EMS Officer, Chief Fire Marshal. Then upcoming in another month or two, we'll have our Valor Awards, which are sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. Always a great event. And then our Length of Service Awards and how that works. The County of Loudoun has their own Length of Service Awards. Each volunteer company has their own Length of Service Awards. But at this ceremony, we recognize those that have 25 years and above with those awards. And you'll hear a little bit more about that tonight. And tonight, our Length of Service Awards will recognize 22 personnel that over those 22 people have 695 years of experience with 22 people. That's pretty amazing. So really a couple of quick things. I want to thank our awards committee, specifically Katie Rose, who is our admin of operations, and she's been working tirelessly on this program. But our awards committee is Assistant Chief of Operations, James Williams. He couldn't be here tonight. He's actually in a week-long leadership program. So he's not at the ceremony tonight. We have our MC and committee member, Stephen Porter, and I think you've emceed every one of them so far, so thank you, Stephen. Debbie DeVito from Recruitment and Retention, Jeannie Cooper from ECC and Communications, Mark Galino is one of our captains, EMS captains, Katie Rose, who I spoke about, Nate Wise is one of our lieutenants, Tammy Smith of Loudoun County Volunteer Rescue, the president, and Jim Jones, our Sterling Rescue, as our chaplain. Those are our committee members, so thank you to each of them. I wanted to recognize one group. I usually don't pull out one group that I would like to just speak about, and they're not getting an award. But you just saw 4 of them standing in front of you, and that's our Honor Guard. And those combined with the Sterling Volunteer Fire Department Honor Guard have knocked it out of the park in the last month. They did 2 funerals in one day, and that we had for one of our system members, and then one of the deputy chiefs of Alexandria Fire Department, and they have given tirelessly. They trained an entire honor guard for the city of Alexandria, who really didn't have an honor guard before when they lost one of their own due to cancer at 51 years old. So just thank you to the honor guard. They leave the room and we never see them, and we never get to thank them for all that they do. I'd just like to reiterate what Steve, thank you. I would also like to reiterate what the thank you that Stephen just mentioned, and the thank you to my senior staff that are here tonight. But more importantly, I say it every time, but to our county administrator, assistant county administrator, and our board of supervisors. We are just at the end of our budget process. If you follow Loudoun County's budget process, it's long and it gets a lot of meetings. And here they are tonight on their own time, obviously, spending it with us to recognize our folks. So how about a big round of applause for the work that they all do in being here tonight. And an election year, I might add, so that's ramping up pretty quickly. So the only message I want to give tonight is, one, thank you to our firefighters and all of our EMS professionals that are here tonight getting awards. Firefighters are the most horrible group of people at seeking recognition. And it kind of goes on seeking mental health. They don't like recognition either. And they'll fight tooth and nail to come before us to get recognized. But whether they're here or not, they're all deserving of this award. Our awards are going to become more difficult in the future. Our world of being a firefighter or an EMT or whatever role you play in our system, administrative person, is changing. And I know my board of supervisors that I report to and my county hears it every day when I go before them, how our world is changing as firefighters. No more is it the simple EMS call that we go to. The room and contents fires that we have gone to in the past seem so far and insignificant anymore. But the world we live in today are lithium battery fires, photovoltaic fires of energy storage systems, electric vehicles, energy storage systems. I could go on, but that's the world we live in today, that quite frankly, we're not even keeping up with the technology that's coming across our plate. But yet, who do they call 911 every time one of those things that I just spoke about either malfunctions or catches fire? It's us, right? And we have to answer the call. And again, we had a meeting today just about the different scenarios that we are presenting. We put together an emerging technology work group because there's so much technology being thrown at our laps and at our way that we can't even keep up as firefighters and EMTs and paramedics and so forth. So it's something that's on all of our plates. So we'll be recognized for a lot more things than simple, I don't say simple, but house fires and room and contents fires that we've been known to battle for many years. But thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoy the program.
Thank you, Chief. I'd also like to take a moment to thank a few other people that are here this evening. Our photographer this evening is Christina Spackman, so thank you. Singer Karen Hertel, you've already met. And also, we'd be amiss to not recognize our technology team of Laura Reinhardt and Jenny Bragel, who, frankly, this wouldn't be happening without them. So thank you very much. For our esteemed award recipients, please follow the program and proceed to your right of the podium and wait to be called for your award. The first awards presented are for our esteemed system members that have been with us for over 25 years. The Length of Service Awards and the Recruitment and Retention Award will be presented by Assistant Chief of Support Services and Volunteer Administration, Travis Pro. Chief Pro, please come forward.
Good evening. How about now? There we go. I think I turned it off. All right, so the Length of Service Awards have been something that traditionally have been presented at the individual department level. Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System would like to acknowledge those that have had long-standing service. Presented to a system member who has completed 25 years or more of continuous service as a member of the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System, this award is presented every quinquennial anniversary after 25 years and above. Will the following individuals come forward to receive your award? John Biscoff III, 25 years, Sterling Volunteer Fire Company. Robert Lee, 25 years, Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company. Michael O'Brien, 25 years, Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company. Scott Radcliffe, 25 years, Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company. David Porter, 25 years, Sterling Volunteer Rescue Squad. Vincent R. Churchella, 30 years, Round Hill Volunteer Fire Rescue Department. Betty Dodge, 30 years, Round Hill Volunteer Fire Rescue Department. Christina L. Freer, 30 years, Round Hill Volunteer Fire Rescue Department. Gina Thomas, 30 years, Round Hill. Deborah Matthews, 30 years, Round Hill. Robert Bob Dryden, 30 years, Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company. Robin Dryden, 30 years, Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company. Andrea Walters, 30 years, Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company. Donald Embry, 35 years, Purcellville. Richard Reeves, 35 years, Purcellville. Deborah St. Clair, 35 years, Ashburn Volunteer Fire Department. Stephen Grant, 40 years, Sterling Volunteer Rescue Squad. William Jack Freer, 40 years, Round Hill. Alan Colby, 45 years, Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company. Earl Dickey Costello, 50 years, Round Hill Volunteer Fire Rescue Department. Aubrey A.G. Payne Jr., 50 years, Round Hill. And Fenton Simpson, 50 years, Round Hill Volunteer Fire Rescue Department. The Recruitment and Retention Award is sponsored by the Loudoun County Recruitment and Retention Committee. It recognizes a member of the system who has demonstrated leadership at multi-agencies or countywide levels and whose impact greatly influenced newer members of the system. Y. Kadang, please join me to receive the Recruitment and Retention Award. I don't believe she was going to be able to make it this evening. Over the last decade, there has been a reduction in the number of people volunteering, giving the members of the Recruitment and Retention Committee an even more difficult task. This makes it more critical that the members of the Recruitment and Retention Committee are reading and responding to the volunteer community's needs across the system. Committee member Y. Kadang has been doing just that and more. Y has nearly 10 years in the system and has been an advocate and supporter for the volunteers for all that time. The past several years, Y has been an elected officer within the Recruitment and Retention Committee, serving as a secretary for her third consecutive term. Y has also chaired several committees for the Sterling Fire, bringing the membership together for social events, as well as to spearhead a robust recruitment campaign this past year. Her tireless efforts in promoting the volunteers and always working for the greater good of recruitment and retention across Loudoun County make her a worthy recipient. Y was also instrumental in our most recent Day in the Life of a Volunteer recruiting open house. Y's expertise with social media was the key to success for publishing and posting of the event while coordinating logistics for the day. Thank you, Y, for your commitment to the volunteer system. Congratulations on receiving the Recruitment and Retention Award. Kathy Harrisek and Scott Maple, please approach.
Good evening. Next, we'll be presenting the Hall of Fame Awards, which will be presented by myself and Chief Scott Maple. So will Michelle Beatty and Rachel Short please come to the front? The Emergency Medical Services Operations Committee and the Fire Operations Committee have the honor of inducting candidates into the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame Award recognizes system members for fire, EMS, or direct contributors for outstanding achievement for their many years of service and outstanding contributions furthering the advancement of fire and EMS service through activities contributing to Loudoun County as a whole. Michelle Beatty is our first inductee. When talking about the EMS system in Loudoun County, the contributions of Loudoun County Volunteer Rescue Squad member and EMS training manager, Michelle Beatty, cannot be missed. Michelle has served as a volunteer paramedic, life member at Loudoun Rescue for 23 years. She served as a part-time instructor with the training division prior to her being hired in 2016 as the number 2 position in EMS training as the EMS training specialist. She was promoted to training manager 16 months later in 2017. Michelle's reach extends beyond providing direct, hands-on training and supervision at the training academy. She serves as the COAMS program dean and chairs the annual program review committee. She also serves on the LC-CFRS medical direction committee, as well as sitting the training division representative on the Loudoun County Combined Fire Rescue System EMS OC committee. Michelle represents Loudoun County at the Northern Virginia EMS Council as well. Michelle's experience in the field and in the training academy, combined with her passion and expectations of high standards, make her an ideal representative of the training academy and the EMS division of the Loudoun County Fire Rescue System. Michelle's poise, experience, and skills make her the ideal person to serve in the role of an instructor for the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office Crisis Intervention Team. She also supports the joint LC-CFRS and LCSO High Threat Team as the training division representative. Observing Michelle in action, it is obvious how much she cares for her fellow colleagues and for first responders in the system. Michelle takes time to check in on those around her, offering supportive comments and gestures, and formalizing her compassion and concern for those around her. She serves on the LC-CFRS peer support team, offering her shoulder to lean on for colleagues and families who have been through traumatic events. In Michelle's downtime, she strives to grow and develop additional professional and leadership skills. She participated in cohort number 3 of the LEAD Loudoun training program and is currently in the Leadership Loudoun training program with an expected graduation date of 2023. Thank you, Michelle, for your dedication and for the roles you play in building our system. I wish I could do the next one with a British accent, but I really can't. But Rachel's journey as a first responder has literally been a journey. Rachel began in emergency services by volunteering on her university's first aid team, really across the pond at Hull University in England. She moved to the United States in 1996, at which time she joined the Sterling Volunteer Rescue Squad. She quickly completed the training to become a paramedic. While serving as a volunteer, Rachel completed her hazmat technician training and was part of the Loudoun County HEAT team, the precursor to the hazardous materials team. Having so much fun as a volunteer, Rachel chose to join LCFR as a recruit in class number 4, fondly known as Born in the Cold, the winter of 2000-2001. She graduated in March and quickly moved into a position as a paramedic, holding the status of being the 18th paramedic to be in the LCFR system. Rachel was on the job on 9/11, a brutally emotional and painful day for first responders worldwide. Stationed at Fire Station 6, Rachel was part of a large contingent of career and volunteer members that pulled extra duty shifts to cover all the slots in the county, allowing other system members to support the emergency response to New York City and the Pentagon. Rachel's career progressed at Ashburn through the ranks of firefighter paramedic up through technician before promoting to lieutenant in 2003. She served as a lieutenant at both Stations 13 and Station 3. But Rachel found her true calling was to work at the training center and to teach ALS. Rachel transitioned from a field employee and started her career at the training center. Rachel has been recognized as the ALS Instructor of the Year in the past. Her influence and reach extend outside the boundaries of Loudoun County, and she has served as a speaker at the annual Virginia EMS Symposium. We are thankful that Rachel made the leap across the pond to serve Loudoun County's Fire Rescue Department. She also came over, we understand, to marry David Short, but we are sure that LCFR was the primary reason. Rachel has had a guiding hand and continues to have a guiding hand in making Loudoun County recognized as one of the premier ALS instructional academies in the state. Thank you, Rachel. For our next award, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Fire Operations Committee Chair and Fire Chief at Percival Fires, Scott Maple. And Chief Maple will present our other Hall of Fame inductees, the Fire Instructor Awards and the John C. Carr Jr. Award.
Good evening. I'd like to ask Richard Fisk and Jeff Flippo to please join me up front, please. Richard Fisk joined the Aldi Volunteer Fire Company in March 1968. He was previously a member of the Leesburg Volunteer Fire Company before moving to the Aldi area. Richard rose through the ranks and became the fire chief for Aldi Volunteer Fire Department for 5 years in the late 1970s and early 1980s, ushering in the diesel fire engine era and ending the era of riding the back step of fire apparatus. I miss those days too. Richard worked with the Loudoun County Fire and Rescue Association to bring countywide system training, policies, equipment, and procedures. He was also instrumental in starting the program that allowed personal property tax reductions for fire and rescue volunteers. Richard was a farmer in the Aldi area for several decades before his retirement. His family farm was where the bulk of the Crichton Farms development is located today. For several decades, Richard coordinated the turkey and oyster dinner fundraiser for the Aldi Volunteer Fire Department, which was well known across the region as a fun community event often attended by United States senators and dignitaries. After Richard stepped down as fire chief, he remained an officer for several years before retiring from active duty in 1997. Although he is retired, he is still available whenever he's needed for advice related to the delivery of fire services and is always willing to assist the Aldi Volunteer Fire Department however and whenever he can. Congratulations. Jeff Filippo is our next Hall of Fame inductee. Jeff Filippo joined the Aldi Fire Department as a 14-year-old junior member in the March of 1968 and has remained an active member of the department ever since. Over the years, he rose through the ranks and has served in numerous positions, including lieutenant, captain, assistant chief, and he currently serves as the vice president of the Aldi Volunteer Fire Department. In January of 1971, he was promoted to a lieutenant, and at that time, serving as the youngest fire officer in Loudoun County. In January 1976, he was hired as the fire rescue dispatcher for the Loudoun County Department of Fire and Rescue. 1 year later, he was promoted to the fire marshal's office as an inspector. In 1978, he was promoted to fire investigator, and he served in that capacity until 1980 when he was promoted to the lieutenant of the fire marshal's division. In 1982, he was promoted to captain of special operations division of the fire marshal's office, where he supervised the development of the Loudoun Emergency Planning Committee and the Loudoun County Hazardous Materials Team. In 1994, he was promoted to Chief Fire Marshal for Loudoun County. During this time, 1994 to 2004, he was responsible for the development and implementation of the FBI accredited county bomb squad and the Fire Marshal Canine Division, which consisted of 2 explosive detection dogs, 1 arson accelerant dog, and 1 bloodhound tracking dog. During this time, the Fire Marshal's office expanded from 3 personnel to 15. Jeff has served on several Virginia legislative committees over the years and has been credited by proclamation from the Virginia General Assembly with obtaining over 10 fire prevention, arson, and explosive bills passed into law. Jeff was recognized in 2004 with the Governor's Award of Excellence in fire prevention and was honored that same year as a life member of the Virginia Fire Prevention Association and the Virginia chapter of International Association of Arson Investigators. He has served as president of the Northern Virginia Joint Committee on Fire and Arson, the Shenandoah Valley Joint Committee on Fire and Arson, the Virginia chapter of the International Association of Arson Investigators, the Virginia State Firefighters Association, and vice president of the Virginia Fire Prevention Association. Jeff retired in 2004 after 30 years of service to Loudoun County Department of Fire and Rescue. After his retirement from the Loudoun County Fire and Rescue Department, Jeff continued to be inactive as a volunteer with the Aldie Volunteer Fire Department. He works part-time as a safety specialist with the Loudoun County School System and is a part-time assistant fire marshal with the Frederick County Fire and Rescue Department in Winchester. For these and many other reasons, we add Jeff Filippo to the recipient list of the Hall of Fame Award. Congratulations. The Fire Operations Committee also nominates personnel to receive the Fire Instructor Award. I'd like to introduce Dominic Slater and Rodney Crone Jr. as the recipients of this award. Gentlemen, please join me. The Fire Instructor Award recognizes fire instructor for their dedication and commitment in fire suppression training and includes contributions to the fire training process for all system members. This award is given as a reflection of the hard work and selfless dedication that is put forth by an individual for the benefit of the students that they teach and for the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System as a whole. In the calendar year 2022, Lieutenant Dominic Slater, in conjunction with fire training, has led the training and development of 51 system volunteers. The training staff are the first system personnel whose students encounter as they enter their basic training outside of their own volunteer stations. Lieutenant Slater is instrumental in our volunteer counterparts training, providing a safe and successful service delivery to the citizens and visitors of Loudoun County. Lieutenant Slater and other training staff provided 320 hours of instructions to the students with an additional 120 hours of preparation for the courses per 6-month session. Lieutenant Slater and staff are training these individuals to be able to perform critical skills such as identifying hazardous materials, advancing a hand line, deploying a ground ladder, or most importantly, performing a firefighter rescue or self-rescue. It is evident based upon discussions I have had with some other former students after transferring to training in 2022 that our Lieutenant Slater and staff are fully committed to producing functional firefighters that can perform and adhere to the standards established by the system. In addition to basic fire training, Lieutenant Slater is the lead for the County Flashover Program. The program trains outside jurisdictions as well, and Lieutenant Slater has operated the flash can for 2 career and 2 volunteer fire schools for over half a dozen outside jurisdictions coming to receive this potential life-saving training. Each session is roughly an 8-hour program. Lieutenant Slater also supports recruit training, professional development, and other various programs within the training academy. Lieutenant Slater is also working with outside jurisdictions and government agencies to further develop their internal training programs. Lieutenant Slater is considered our go-to officer when we need things done. Lieutenant Slater's role in training helps to ensure that our first responders' competency, skills, and knowledge base are consistent across the combined system. Congratulations on receiving the firefighter, or well, actually it's not firefighter of the year, the instructor of the year award, Lieutenant Slater. Rodney Crone is our other fire instructor honoree. He started teaching in Loudoun County Fire and Rescue in 2009 as a volunteer instructor. Because of his skills and consistency, he was offered a part-time instructor position. In 2011, in coordination with the state and Loudoun County Fire and Rescue, he began hosting an emergency vehicle operators course, we know it as EVOC, 1, 2, and 3 at his own volunteer company in Hamilton. Years ago, Loudoun County Fire and Rescue handed the EVOC training for all Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System volunteers over to Rodney Crone's course. As the EVOC course coordinator and instructor, he is responsible for requesting the course codes from the state, finalizing all required documents for each student, and submitting them back to the state for processing. Rodney is responsible for scheduling the monthly training and distributing the training advisory. He coordinates the logistics of the 2-day training at Hamilton Rescue and secures authorized EVOC instructors and assistants in the driving portion of the EVOC testing. Rodney often provides additional time and support to students who have difficulty with the Virginia Department of Fire program with registration, grades, and accessing records. The EVOC course, which Rodney coordinates, averages 100 Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue volunteer attendees annually, as well as 50 to 75 non-Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System personnel throughout the state. Rodney Crone's years of dedication to hosting monthly EVOC 1, 2, and 3 for the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System and the state has had a significant impact in the timely release of our system operational members. He goes above and beyond to assist personnel in their success in EVOC 1, 2, and 3 release. Congratulations, Rodney. The John C. Carr Jr. Memorial Award is the final award presented by the Fire Operations Committee. Brad Quinn is this year's recipient, and I ask him to come join me up front. This award recognizes those who have been a member of the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System for a minimum of 5 years and have displayed leadership and achievements during their service. Brad Quinn has been an active member of the Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company since 2007 and has unselfishly donated thousands of hours of his time each year to provide the fire company can continue to successfully provide volunteer fire and EMS services to the citizens of Purcellville and Loudoun County. Over the past 15 years, Brad has held the positions as president, membership chair, driver technician. Throughout his tenure as membership chair, Brad has brought in an average of 20 to 28 new members every year. Brad has been a staple within our system and has been the go-to person that everyone reaches out to when no one else knows the answer. At committee meetings, you'll often hear, ask Brad, he'll know. His unwavering commitment and his involvement over the years to both Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company and the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System is a big reason that we as a system have the success that we do today. Brad has always been vocal and ardent advocate of volunteer members to both system and county leadership. As Purcellville president, Brad participated on the Administrative Operations Committee, we call that the AOC, and served as chair for many of those years. The AOC has the responsibility of reviewing system-wide procedures prior to them being approved by the executive committee. As the AOC chair, Brad served on the executive committee where he continued to have influence on shaping and finalized system policies. His participation in the AOC budget and the finance subcommittees helped shape the current algorithm and allocation process for system funding of volunteer stations. Brad's voice, whether written or spoken, is known to delve deeply into issues, reflecting how policies, procedures, and other challenges will impact the volunteer. His legacy of hard work will continue to shape the future of our system. In addition to his formal leadership roles, many days Brad could be found participating in community outreach activities through Cub Scout and Girl Scout events, elementary and community school events, the Books and Badges program, Ride to School program, and birthday parties. His community outreach also extended to organizations in managing logistics for a biannual blood drive for the St. Francis Church. Brad Quinn has been a model leader for both as president of Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company and in his leadership across the spectrum of the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System, AOC committee and subcommittees, and numerous projects for 15 years. Brad exemplifies the John C. Carr Jr. Memorial Award. Congratulations, Brad, on a job well done. All right, with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Johnson to introduce the recipient of the Phoenix Award.
Thank you, Scott. The Phoenix Award is presented to a civilian for heroic actions. The performance must be of a level to merit recognition for service that is clearly exceptional or results in a saving of a life. This year, we recognize Jimmy Hill. Mr. Hill, come join me, please. On March 17, 2022, at 18:46 hours, units were dispatched for a townhouse fire located at 126 Oliver Court in Purcellville. Prior to fire and rescue units arriving, one of the neighbors, Jimmy Hill, who was a retired volunteer firefighter from here in Loudoun, realized that a female was in the window and trapped on the second floor of the home. Jimmy tried to break the window glass, and when she collapsed, Jimmy did not hesitate and went to action, where he forced the front door to find heavy smoke banked down to the floor. Even with this smoke and no protective equipment or breathing apparatus, Jimmy went into the home and tried to make his way to the second floor and rescue her several times. But unfortunately, with the heavy smoke conditions as they were, he was not able to make it to the stairs. Jimmy exited the building as units were arriving on the scene and was able to provide accurate information to the firefighters as to where the female was last seen. He then assisted the firefighters with throwing ladders and pulling hose lines. Once firefighters removed the unconscious female from the house, Jimmy then assisted with fire and EMS crews with getting her onto a cot and into the ambulance so that medical aid could be performed. Jimmy's unselfish actions that day helped with the successful removal and survival of the female from the townhouse fire, and is a big reason that she is alive today. These unselfish actions make Jimmy an unwavering recipient for the LC-CFRS Civilian of the Year Award. Thank you. Was the Phoenix Award, not the Civilian of the Year Award. I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Harasak to introduce the recipient of the Clark Dina Memorial Award, the Leo C. Kelly ALS Instructor Award, and the Robert W. Hap Arnold BLS Instructor Award.
Past recipients and the Emergency Medical Services Operation Committee have nominated Robert Ritchie as the recipient of the Clark J. Diener Award. Is he here tonight? Oh, yes. This award recognizes an EMS member for their significant contribution to the development of the EMS system in Loudoun County. The Clark Diener Memorial Award is regarded to be the hallmark recognition for emergency medical service providers in Loudoun County. It is awarded to a person for significant contributions to the development of the EMS system. This year's recipient, Robert Ritchie, has exemplified excellence in EMS care at the administrative and clinical levels for more than 30 years. He has held positions of vice president and president of his company, and Robert has served with distinction on his company's board of directors. In his administrative capacity, he helped facilitate the renovations of the company's building that provided a state-of-the-art facility to allow for a smooth transition to their current quarters. As the chair of the Quality Control Committee, Robert saw the prospect of evolving the committee's work into a bona fide learning opportunity for system members. This led to the creation of the Emergency Medical Improvement Committee, EMIC, which was the foundation of our current quality assurance program. In the early 2000s, it was discovered that temperature variances in our ambulance drug boxes throughout the county posed a possible threat to the integrity of the drugs. Robert researched and recommended a cost-effective solution that addressed the concerns, allowing for a remedy that is still in use in our ambulances today. Through these administrative achievements, Robert has consistently delivered advanced life support care, and he continues to do so on a regular basis. His clinical skills, knowledge, and abilities are exceptional. Patients in his charge benefit from his knowledge, skills, and abilities, but what they will remember about Robert is how he made them feel as a person. He possesses a genuine concern for people and always does his level best to help them through a difficult time. It is an honor to present the Clark Diener Memorial Award to the bedrock of the Percival Volunteer Rescue Squad, Robert Ritchie. Whole lot of armature over here. Instructor Lindsay Jacobs was nominated by the Emergency Medical Services Operations Committee with input from the LCFR Training Division as the recipient of this year's Leo C. Kelly ALS Instructor Award. I feel like I should be doing this. All right, for those of us who attended Pride this year, Lindsay was the star of the show. She was a role player as a psychotic patient, and every time we saw her, she was banging her head with some sort of book. But anyways, the Leo C. Kelly Instructor Award recognizes an ALS instructor for their dedication and commitment to EMS training, including contributions to the training process and programs. Captain Lindsay Jacobs demonstrates an extraordinary commitment to our Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System, as well as to the public. She takes it upon herself to provide exceptional support and service to all our ALS students at the Training Academy. Within the past year, she has played an integral role in both the advanced emergency medical technician, and the paramedic programs. While that is quite an achievement, Captain Jacobs has additionally been an instrumental component of our annual Pride EMS training for over 1,200 system members. She has recently taken on additional responsibilities as an AHA pediatric advanced life support instructor. Captain Jacobs is the kind of person who gives to give. She takes the time out of her busy schedule to dedicate countless hours to our academy staff and students. She epitomizes servant leadership within our ALS programs and inspires others to give back, pay it forward in our community. Captain Jacobs is a true champion for advanced life support education with a tireless commitment to serving our students. Through many changes in our programs and curriculum, Captain Jacobs has exemplified our program's mission and has positively impacted our students. Her skills, knowledge, willingness to help others, and dedication to our community make her our nominee and recipient for this year's Leo C. Kelly ALS Instructor Award. Instructor Angela Locke was nominated by the Emergency Medical Services Operation Committee with input from the LCFR Training Division as the recipient of this year's Robert W. Hap Arnold BLS Instructor Award. This award recognizes a BLS instructor for their dedication and commitment in EMS training, including contributions to the training process and programs. Firefighter paramedic Angela Locke exemplifies this award because she constantly and consistently displays the core values of teamwork, integrity, professionalism, and service. Many may talk the talk, but Angela walks the walk, embracing the core values which the system endorses. Angela's relentless contributions to students, our organization, and the community shines through her work. Angela has successfully trained hundreds of BLS providers at the Training Academy over the past several years. Angela taught numerous programs, including CPR, mass casualty incident management, and emergency medical technician. She took on an additional role this year as an advanced emergency medical technician educator. Angela is quick to take on new professional challenges, while also taking the time to encourage students and coworkers to commit to their own personal development and encourages them to care for our fellow community members. Angela's continued commitment inspires and motivates many who know her. Angela's commitment as a BLS instructor may be seen in the work of her students in our community as emergency medical technicians. As an educator, she holds an unparalleled success record of 100% pass rate at both the state and national levels. It is no wonder that she is admired by her peers at the Academy. Angela's skills are numerous and impressive, and she continues to amaze with her humility, honesty, and compassion. Thank you to Firefighter Angela Locke for the energy and dedication you bring to the students and to your coworkers at the Training Academy. And congratulations on receiving the Robert W. Hap Arnold BLS Instructor of the Year Award. And for our next awards, I'd like to reintroduce System Chief Keith Johnson, who will present our Fire Investigator of the Year Award.
Thank you, Kathy. The Fire Investigator of the Year Award is presented to a member of the Fire Marshal's Office who demonstrate outstanding performance in the day-to-day execution of duties. This year's honoree is Michael Kenyon. Please join me, Michael. Investigator Kenyon is consistently a sound investigator who uses logic and demonstrates presence regardless of the situation. Investigator Kenyon is the epitome of our system's core values, always providing the absolute best he has to offer to the Loudoun citizens and his visitors. Investigator Kenyon is sought after by staff for his knowledge, skills, and abilities, always bringing perspective to casework, promoting others to think outside the box, and supporting others in their professional growth. Over the course of last year, Investigator Kenyon was assigned an extremely sensitive case. Another law enforcement agency provided our office with information indicating a fire under unusual circumstances may have occurred in Loudoun and requested to be examined. Unfortunately, the damaged property was no longer within Loudoun County, creating a logistical hurdle. Careful and tactical efforts were made to navigate the various and complex issues, including the location where the fire occurred, where the fire-damaged property was being stored, performing challenging fire pattern analysis, traveling to multiple states where the suspect was known to visit to conduct multiple interviews of witnesses, and interacting with in and out of state law enforcement agencies. Investigating Kenyon's thorough research resulted in a well-documented case uncovering several offenses to include multiple arsons, insurance fraud, and impersonation of a public safety official. The person responsible for setting the fire ultimately pled guilty to felony arson, and to quote the Commonwealth attorney handling the case of prosecution, it would not have been resolved so easily if it were not for the finely detailed efforts of Investigator Kenyon. Congratulations, Investigator Kenyon, for Fire Investigator of the Year. So Chief Pro and I are going to be tag teaming Chief Williams presenting tonight. So I'm going to present the life-saving, meritorious service, and firefighter and officer of the year. So Chief Pro and I will tag team those. I ask that Richard Boyce, Justin Brabson, Adam Berner, Jonathan Choi, Robert Duty, Troy Giddings, Mark Galino, and Megan Groomer, Earl Hall, Patrick Hargrove, Matthew Hartman, Michael Hovermel, David Landis, Lauren Lozer, Troy Markley, Edward McMichael, Scott Malott, Brandon Mueller, Clinton Murphy, John Myers, John R. Myers, David Puffenberger, Rodney Scott, Nicole Serzan, Nicholas Slater, Nicholas Smith, Jason Taylor, Lori Tedeschi, Daniel Turner, Warren Valentine, and Donald Vick. All those that are here, come on up. We'll take a group photo at the end. The first group I asked to come up is Lieutenant Adam Berner, Technician Lauzer, Firefighter Malott, and Dispatcher Michael Hovermill. I think Captain Giddings, if Captain Giddings, Lieutenant Hall, Nicole Zerzan, if you're here, come on up as well. The Life Saving Award recognizes members for an action within the members' scope of training and duty involving either fireground operations or emergency medical services, which directly contributes to the saving of a life. Loudoun County Emergency Communications received a 911 call on January 9th, 2022 at 1812 hours. Dispatcher Hovermill, the dispatcher who took call, assessed a 7-year-old male in cardiac arrest, 7-year-old male. He immediately dispatched rescue units engine 604, medic 604 Bravo, paramedic engine 605, and EMS 602 to the home. In addition, dispatcher Hovermill provided over the phone CPR instructions to the patient's parents while units responded. Upon arrival, responders found the patient on the floor in an upstairs bedroom. While the patient was not in cardiac arrest, he was in very critical respiratory distress with an acute airway swelling due to croup complicated by COVID-19. Engine 604 Lieutenant Berner, medic 604 driver operator Malott, medic 606 Bravo, paramedic Hall, immediately applied high flow oxygen and obtained the baseline vitals. EMS 602 Captain Giddings rushed out to the ambulance to set up an epinephrine nebulizer. Lieutenant Berta picked up and rapidly carried the patient downstairs to the ambulance while firefighter Malott closely carrying an oxygen cylinder. Once in the ambulance, a neb was supplied by engine 604, and driver operator Lauren Lozer agreed to drive medic 604 to Lansdowne Pediatric. Captain Giddings agreed to follow immediately behind the emergency transport in case the patient needed more aggressive airway interventions. Firefighter Malott constantly and competently coached the patient to stay awake and breathe during the entire transport. Once the neb was exhausted, paramedic Hall elected to provide the patient with an intramuscular injection of epinephrine. By the time medic 604 arrived at Lansdowne, the patient's labored breathing had greatly diminished and improved. The patient was not fully awake and was now fully awake and calmly conversed with the crew, hospital staff, and his parents. Dispatcher Hovermill and paramedic Hall were invited to the Board of Supervisors meeting on April 5th of last year as representative of all the first responders, where the family requested an opportunity to publicly express their appreciation for the life-saving service they received. The fast teamwork by this group of well-trained responders is credited for saving the life of this young patient. Without everyone serving in their role, the outcome may have been much different for the patient and family. Congratulations to each of you. Paramedic Taylor, Technician Brabson, Firefighter EMT Boyce, Markley, and Murphy, please join me. While fire and rescue personnel are geared up to respond to medical issues on duty, out in the field, identifying and treating one of their own during shift is something that they hope they not do very often. When it is your peer, it hits close to home. On January 28, 2022, the entire crew at Fire Station 26 had completed a routine physical exercise session. Approximately 20 minutes after completing the exercise, one of our captains began to feel weak and nauseous with some chest discomfort. Observations made by the crew about the patient's level of anxiety and general appearance raised the index of suspicion, and an immediate emergency medical assistance by the crew was initiated. Under the direction of Paramedic Taylor, the initial 12 lead was manually interpreted with shown signs of an ST elevation. That's not good. This presence of ST elevation is a strong indication that the patient may be experiencing heart attack, or as what we call a myocardial infarction. A repeat 12 lead was also completed. Typical of many first responders, the patient was extremely reluctant to be transported to a care facility since it would require the station to go out of service and temporarily relieve him of his responsibilities. It took the crew's expertise, persistence, and strong presence to convince the patient, the captain, to be transported to definitive care. The patient was ultimately transported to Inova, admitted and treated successfully for a heart attack. The crew's expert knowledge, skills, and ability, and unrelenting persuasion for transport directly contributed to saving the patient's life. Congratulations to the members of Fire Station 26 for receiving the life-saving award. Add that to the list, Chair Randall. We got mental health, we got recognition, and not taking care of ourselves. Lieutenant McMichael and Firefighter Hartman, if you're here, please join me. And if Paramedic Duty and Firefighter Choi, Mullers, Myers, and Slater, if you're here, join me as well. On April 22nd, and this is very similar to the one earlier on, April 22nd, 2022, Paramedic Engine 627, consisting of Lieutenant McMichael, Technician Paramedic Rob Duty, Firefighter Matt Hartman, and Firefighter Jonathan Choi, had returned to Fire Station 27 from a fire alarm, and when disembarking the apparatus in the apparatus bay, when a civilian approached the station waving his hands frantically, stating there was a bad crash in the intersection of Gardenia and North Star Boulevard. Technician Duty walked out of the apron of Station 27 and visually confirmed there was an accident, and they took action to assist. Paramedic Engine 627 arrived on the scene and found a two-car motor vehicle accident with lateral impact. There were two people in the first vehicle of a four-door sedan who were unconscious, and the driver of the second vehicle, a two-door pickup truck, was out walking around. As Lieutenant McMichael was informing dispatch on a location, Technician Paramedic Duty quickly conducted a scene survey and determined they had two priority patients in the car, one trapped. Paramedic Duty relayed this information to Lieutenant McMichael as he was finishing his on-scene report. Lieutenant McMichael conducted his own scene survey, confirming two patients unconscious with both trapped in the vehicle, and assessed the two unconscious patients at red tag. Lieutenant McMichael radioed the dispatch center, upgraded the call to an accident with entrapment. Technician Duty assessed the two patients in the first vehicle and delegated BLS responsibility to the two firefighters on the scene, allowing to continue with ALS care. The first IV was on the passenger, who sustained significant head trauma. The second IV on the driver was trapped by the 18-inch or 24 inches of intrusion to the vehicle. Technician Duty bounced between the two priority patients in a balancing act of caring for them, as he was the only ALS provider on the scene for the first 18 minutes. As he conducted his treatment and reassessment, he recommended starting a helicopter due to the extended extrication time. After the patient was extricated from the vehicle, Technician Duty assisted in packaging and loading the patient and considered monitoring the conditions of the patient. Technician Duty moved to the unit to the LZ, landing zone, and assisted in the loading of the patient into the helicopter. Simultaneously, Firefighter Hartman and Firefighter Choi worked to free the driver of the vehicle who was entrapped and provided care to the passenger of the vehicle who was assessed through the use of our Halligan tools. Firefighter Choi noticed and disseminated that the passenger had significant hematoma on the side of his head, about the size of a golf ball. At one point, firefighter Choi used his knowledge to speak Spanish to communicate with the patient to calm her. Firefighter Choi also assisted in providing care to the trapped patient by maintaining her airway and suctioning the airway to keep clear of during the extrication. The efforts of firefighter Brandon Mueller also deserve recognition on this call. Firefighter Mueller was the driver operator of tanker 627. He, on his own accord, began ferrying EMS supplies from the station to the scene as they were quickly depleting their resources. Lieutenant McMichael requested tanker 27 be added to the call, and firefighter Mueller was a dedicated resource. The crew of engine 627 worked on the scene by themselves for 18 minutes while other crews arrived. This is an eternity in an emergency incident scene. Unfortunately, the crew of paramedic engine 627, all the units surrounding them that are normally responding, including a medic unit at their own station, were committed on other emergency incidents. Fairfax County and Prince William both sent units to assist as they were closer than most of Loudoun's units. The crews were able to extricate the two patients, load them into the transport unit for them to be transported to the hospital. Without the efforts of firefighter Myers and firefighter Slater, who arrived on Medic 607, the life-saving efforts put forth by paramedic engine 627 would have been for naught. Knowing the patient was critical and could not wait for them to arrive, firefighter Myers made the decision to rapidly transport the patient to the nearby trauma center, with firefighter Slater assisting in patient care. Both patients entrapped in the car were treated for injuries sustained in the accident and were released 3 days later. The teamwork and coordination of their combined skills created a positive outcome for the patients in this accident. Captain Galino, AEMT Smith, and call taker Lori Tedeschi, please join me. Captain Scott, Lieutenant Puffenberger, EMT Valentine, and firefighter Hardgrove, if you're here, also join me. On Wednesday, June 22nd, ECC received a 911 call for a 40-year-old male who reported that he fell putting his dishes away and had blood spurting out. The patient also reported that he woke up in a pool of blood and had a period where he was unconscious for an unknown amount of time. According to the CAD notes, the patient was not answering the call taker's question and at one point was disconnected from the call, necessitating ECC to call back and make contact with the patient. Call taker Lori Tedeschi kept the patient talking and preventing him from passing out again while the call was shipped over to dispatcher Amy Bunty, who dispatched medic 635 and tower ladder 618 to the incident. Captain Rodney Scott, who served at UFO capacity during the shift, was alerted to the serious nature of the call and added EMS 601. When units arrived, they found the patient in the middle of his living room in a pool of blood and later discovered an even larger amount of blood in the kitchen where the patient reported that the injury happened. Firefighter Patrick Hardgrove immediately assessed the wound and placed a pressure bandage on it. As it was being placed, the patient started to bleed through the dressing where Lieutenant Puffenberger and AEMT Nicholas Smith worked together to place a tourniquet on the affected limb to stop the bleeding. The patient was not responding to questions appropriately, and crews had to arouse him to the point of opening his eyes and engaging with him. With the assistance of technician Nick Heinrich and William Markley, the crews brought the patient out to the medic unit. Once in the medic unit, AEMT Smith established IV, crews reassessed the patient and delivered pain medication and rechecked the bandage and tourniquet. While en route to the hospital, Captain Paramedic Mark Galino administered nearly a unit of blood to the patient, after which showed some improvement in his condition. The patient was successfully transitioned to the trauma team in Inova Loudoun Emergency Department, where crews assisted the staff for a short period of time. The patient outcome was received a day later, and the patient had a complete transection of his radial artery and median nerve, as well as tendon damage. Every step of the continuum of care from the point of call into the ECC to the delivery of the patient to the ER played an important role in the patient not bleeding out on the floor. From call taker Tedeschi keeping the patient engaged, to the bleeding control by the units on the scene, to the care of the patient during transport, all contributed to the positive outcome. Firefighter Turner, please join me. If Technician Vick and Firefighter Landis and Gruber are here, please join me as well. At 1844 hours on March 17th last year, the Loudoun County Emergency Communications Center received a 911 call from a hysterical 14-year-old who relayed that she was trapped in her bedroom. Experienced, professional, and reassuring call takers gathered and confirmed information from the person providing detailed information to our units. They remained on the line until they were able to verify that the victim had been located and removed from the structure by on-scene personnel. The combined actions of the ECC call takers and dispatchers contributed to the positive outcome of the incident. Fire Department response, EMS Supervisor EMS 602 was the first to arrive on the scene and reported to Battalion 602 that smoke was showing from the front door of a 3-story middle-of-the-road townhouse. Tower 602 and Battalion 602 arrived in position on the front, establishing command. Tower 602's crew of 4 split up into 2 teams, where the officer, Lieutenant Michael Nichols, and firefighters Megan Gruber and firefighter Bucket 1 made entry into the structure to the front door on the 2nd floor to complete a rapid search. The driver, Firefighter Landis, and Bucket 2 firefighter technician Don Vick set their aerial ladder up and prepared to access the windows on the 3rd floor. Rescue Engine 602 arrived and completed a lap, reporting 3 stories in the rear. They proceeded to advance a hand line through the front door to the 2nd floor and quickly knocked down a kitchen fire to the rear of the 2nd floor. Simultaneously, Paramedic Engine 605 and Engine 604 completed primary searches. Technician Vick donned SCBA and climbed the ladder to meet Firefighter Landis. Firefighter Landis also verbally requested to the ground for an additional person in the bucket of the tower. The driver of the Paramedic Engine 605, Firefighter Daniel Turner, was dressed and available, and EMS 602 directed him to the bucket of the tower. Once up there, Technician Vick made entry into the bedroom where he found the victim several feet inside the room. He met Firefighter Gruber at the victim as she was searching the room from the interior. Paramedic Engine 605, Firefighter Turner, stayed in the bucket to assist from the exterior. Firefighter Turner yelled to Technician Vick, saying he would be right back, and moved the ladder over to the other window. Lieutenant Nichols, after breaking the window, climbed out of the bucket into the bucket. Firefighter Turner moved the ladder and lowered it to the ground, where crews assisted him to remove Lieutenant Nichols from the bucket. Firefighter Turner immediately returned the ladder back to the window where Technician Vick entered the structure. Once back to the window, the 3 firefighters, Technician Vick, Gruber, and Turner, were able to move the unconscious victim into the bucket and lower her to the ground for medical attention. It was due to the combined teamwork of all responders that shaped this into a positive outcome, with both the victim and the firefighter surviving the aggressive fire.
All right, we now move on to Meritorious Service Awards. May I ask Deputy Chief Jamie Cooper, please make your way to the front. The Meritorious Service Award recognizes system members for conspicuous gallantry and bravery at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty in action involving either fireground operations or emergency medical service, or under extreme emergency circumstances that directly resulted in the saving of a human life. On March 3rd, 2023, while driving his children home from school, Deputy Chief Cooper stopped at the scene of an auto accident in the median of Harry Bird Highway. As he approached the accident scene, he noted one patient who appeared to be in emotional distress. Deputy Chief Cooper identified himself as a paramedic and asked if he could help. The motorist confessed that they had attempted to cross the median to enter oncoming lanes to commit suicide. Deputy Chief Cooper reassured the patient and attempted to call for assistance when, to run into traffic, the patient sprung into a violent attack on Deputy Chief Cooper. Deputy Chief Cooper, with no regard for his own personal safety, physically subdued the patient while directing a bystander to call for law enforcement, as well as fire and rescue assistance. Deputy Chief Cooper physically restrained the emotionally disturbed individual until relieved by law enforcement, who were able to take the patient into custody and eventually into a medical facility for psychiatric evaluation. Had Deputy Chief Cooper failed to act in a rapid and heroic fashion, the outcome of the incident would surely have been tragic. Thank you, Chief Cooper. With his 4 children in the car. And I'm pretty sure there's video somewhere out there of this. Lots of passerby cell phone video. Dad of the year. All right. Firefighter EMT Andrew Schreffler and technician Jeff Brown, please make your way to the front and receive Firefighter of the Year awards. This award honors a uniformed member of the system who exemplifies outstanding performance in the day-to-day performance of their duties and their outstanding service and dedication, which are keeping with the highest traditions of the fire and rescue system. Firefighter EMT Schreffler, please join me. Co-workers of Jeff Schreffler share that he can be found always striving to do the best job possible. Andrew is the first to volunteer to help any of his system coworkers. He works hard every day to improve himself through training for both firefighters and EMS. It doesn't matter if it's a rescue drill or helping the medic crew with training for the preceptees, he is there learning and participating. While some may remotely participate in training, firefighter Schreffler is actively present and is not afraid to ask questions if it will better prepare him for the job. His learning does not stop at what is required of him to do his job, but he routinely takes it upon himself to learn things outside of his normal duties. If something needs to be done, it's guaranteed that he will be the first to start the job, never complaining or asking for help. If he notices someone struggling with something, he is right there to help, never making the person feel bad, rather encouraging them along the way. Firefighter Schreffler is the teammate that we all would like to have. Sometimes people can get caught up in the differences within our system between volunteer, career, my own crew, or a crew from another station, not firefighter Schreffler. He treats everyone with whom he interacts with the utmost respect, whether inward-facing to his coworkers or outward-facing to the Loudoun County community. One can guarantee his work ethic will be consistent and will serve with integrity. Firefighter Schreffler takes pride in his job he does every day. Firefighter Schreffler personifies Firefighter of the Year. We are lucky to have him working with us. We are very lucky to have him as a coworker and one of the drivers for the medic unit, and very proud of his accomplishments. Technician Brown. Technician Jeff Brown joined the Sterling Volunteer Fire Company in November of 2000. He has been a steadfast and dependable member throughout his tenure. He has worked on several important projects over the years to include helping with the maintaining mapping and run route data for the Sterling and assisting with the sharing of this data across companies. He also is responsible for the setup and maintenance of the radio reference Loudoun County Dispatch, web-based radio. For 2022, Jeff has taken a leadership role as part of Sterling Volunteer Fire Company Apparatus Committee in the design and delivery of the new E1 Tower 618. This not only included work on a joint LC-CFRS Sterling Volunteer Fire Company Design Committee, but most importantly, building the in-service training materials that are used for both Sterling and LCFR to onboard existing and new tower drivers. The in-service training PowerPoint breaks down the console apparatus specs, operational features, etc., into a clear and concise document that not only is used for training, but is also a great resource for incumbent firefighters covering stations at which they are not familiar with the apparatus. The Tower Technician Candidate Training and Qualifications Manual, which Jeff worked on, provides more in-depth material for those driving the tower. The training material provides a checklist to serve as evidence that each tower technician is sufficiently trained to operate one of the system's largest apparatus. Jeff's narrative incorporates safety reminders which positively impact those working on and around the apparatus. It is clear that Jeff Brown's work has served and will continue to serve the entire Loudoun County combined system for the life of the unit. Thank you. Lieutenant Jason Elowit and Battalion Chief Chris Kermode, would you please come forward to receive the Officer of the Year Award? Officer of the Year Award honors an officer of the system who exemplifies outstanding execution in the day-to-day performance of their duties and their outstanding service and dedication, which are keeping with the highest traditions of fire and rescue system. Lieutenant Eloise. Lieutenant Jason Elliott is an operational member for Loudoun County Fire Rescue stationed at Rescue 635B shift. He exemplifies outstanding performance on a consistent daily basis. He provides his crew with a minimum of 2 hands-on drills every shift. He has developed an in-station rescue task book to provide guidance for newly assigned rescue personnel that provides a clear path for learning the core competencies of the rescue company. He has challenged his crew to meet these expectations. His shift now has 2 Spratt rope access nationally certified technicians. His technician will complete his final HCR class in April, and multiple members on his team are structural collapse specialists. His crew attended the Advanced Trench Rescue Symposium in Michigan. The specialized training has been put to the test with several cars into buildings in Ashburn and Sterling, where they have had to shore several buildings up. Lieutenant Eloise championed the first LCFR Tower Rescue Agreement. He worked with Matt Anderson of Lovettsville Volunteer Fire, a tower engineer subject matter expert, and developed a training program. That program is now part of the Rescue Quarterly Training. Lieutenant Elliott is part of the VDFP HTR cadre and an evaluator for the 2023 Virginia Rescue Challenge. He continues to expand his own knowledge by taking the Advanced Trench class in Michigan. Lieutenant Elliott is one of the 15 people nationwide that was accepted to the IFSTA validation group for the first edition rope rescue manual. He is also one of the 17 rescue CMC instructors globally and has provided guidance during the ship that ran aground in the Chesapeake Bay. Lieutenant Elliott believes in the highest traditions of the fire and rescue service. Life safety is on the top of his list of priorities while ensuring everyone goes home. He is constantly reviewing training through the country and evaluating major events. He uses these events as tools in his toolbox and recently built a bailout window prop to ensure that everyone in the station was proficient in bailouts and how to access firefighters through small windows. Over the last year, Lieutenant Elliott led the crew on several complex incidents to include a man and machine call, and in one case, it was a dog that was trapped on a tractor trailer step that required working closely with animal control that had a positive outcome. He also responded to an overturned car in a frozen pond with one person trapped. Most recently, he led his crew into a working house fire and removed one victim on Thrush Road. The victim was able to regain a pulse, but unfortunately later succumbed to his injuries. Lieutenant Elliott's Battalion Chief Jason Dotson shares, "I could not be prouder of his accomplishments, and I feel that he is the definition of Officer of the Year, providing the citizens of Loudoun County with the best services possible." Thank you. I don't want to compare resumes with that man. All right, Chief Kermode. Chief Kermode has been a system member since January 2008 at the Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company and has moved up through the ranks where he has held the position of firefighter, technician, lieutenant, captain, duty officer, and assistant chief, as well as volunteer battalion chief for Loudoun County Fire and Rescue. While Chris runs his normal weekly duty crew shifts and manages a crew of 8 personnel, he regularly covers additional shifts for other officers, runs shifts covering the volunteer battalion chief position 604, as well as runs the duty officer to help cover command officer positions in the county. Outside of his operational duties, Chris is involved with the apparatus committee, which has recently purchased a new rescue engine, new brush truck, and new command unit. Chris helps to run and oversee the engineering duties of the station to address issues with the apparatus and make sure everything is up and running, and he oversees the Red Hat program, training program, which is held every Wednesday to allow newer members of the company to get exposed to the tasks and requirements they will experience before becoming assigned a duty crew and attending fire school. Training-wise, Chris never stops. He has made it a priority to take and complete all required fire and EMS classes for our current system-wide procedure. He attends classes outside of the county yearly at the Virginia Fire Chiefs Conference, as well as FDIC, and most recently is working to complete his National Fire Academy Fire Executive Officer program. With the thousands of hours and time committed to Purcellville Volunteer Fire Company and the system, we award your commitment, passion, and drive to make Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System the best it can be. I'd like to ask Operational Medical Director, Dr. John Morgan, to present the EMS Provider of the Year Award at this time.
Thank you, Chief Pro. It's my pleasure tonight to recognize two of our outstanding EMS providers in our combined fire and rescue system. Paramedics Matthew Sheehan and Sarah Phillips, please join us up here. So the EMS Provider of the Year honors an EMS provider of the system who exemplifies outstanding performance in the day-to-day execution of their duties and their outstanding service and dedication, which are keeping with the highest traditions of the fire and rescue system. Paramedic Matt Sheehan. Over the years, the name Matthew Sheehan has become synonymous with Western Loudoun EMS. Although Matthew has worked in several different assignments throughout Loudoun County over his long career, his time spent in Hamilton and Round Hill, as well as Leesburg, have made him a fixture in the communities of Western Loudoun. Ask any system provider which paramedic they would want to show up at their door in an emergency, and Matthew Sheehan will be one of the top answers given. Throughout his career, Matthew has proven to be an outstanding example of what it means to be a well-rounded paramedic. He has spent several years as a preceptor, mentoring many of the ALS providers in our system, both career and volunteer. In addition to his assignment as a paramedic preceptor, Matthew has always taken the time to teach any new provider how to make themselves just a bit better when it comes to EMS. Despite being assigned to stations in Western Loudoun, Matthew routinely found himself in the middle of incidents in the care of critical patients, always showing the knowledge and poise of a senior ALS provider in our system. On several incidents, Matthew provided guidance and recommendations to patient care, which were discussed with the EMS supervisor and had a great positive impact on the outcome of the patient. Firefighter medic Matthew Sheehan is a shining example of what EMS providers in Loudoun County should strive to be. He is dedicated to consistently providing the best care for his patients and making those around him better providers. For this, Matthew Sheehan is deserving of the 2022 Career EMS Provider of the Year. All right, paramedic Sarah Phillips has been a member of our system for 5 years. When Sarah joined Ashburn Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department, she had no prior EMS experience. During this short time, she became an EMT, continued her training in volunteering, and most recently has become a released paramedic in Loudoun County. In addition to her volunteering in Loudoun County, Sarah is also a part-time career paramedic in Berkeley County, West Virginia. In addition to providing direct patient care, Sarah is also the EMS training officer for Ashburn Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department and is responsible for coordinating and mentoring all the EMS certified personnel within that department. Sarah has become a role model for new volunteer members and exemplifies the type of EMS provider that makes our system so successful. Congratulations, Sarah. I'd like to call Chief Pro back to the stage to present the Telecommunicator of the Year and Administrative Volunteer of the Year awards. Sir?
I'm back. All right, wonderful. Our first responders on every call, the first responder on every call is our dispatchers and call takers, and their efforts are often life-saving. I'd like to present the Telecommunicator of the Year award to Lauren Parker. The Telecommunicator of the Year award honors a telecommunicator who demonstrates outstanding performance in the day-to-day execution of their duties and their dedication to the professionalism and service. This is a reason that the ECC personnel are referred to as the first responders. They interact with the community under tough conditions, not having the ability to visually size up a scene, relying on the verbal information provided to determine how to proceed, and often they don't know the outcome of the call. This year's Telecommunicator of the Year award recipient, Lauren Parker, is a professional, understanding, hardworking system member who always has a good attitude. She keeps her cool in the most stressful of situations, which most calls coming into DCC are. Her calm demeanor easily diffuses situations with upset and angry callers. Telecommunicators do not just answer the call and say, help is on the way, but use a distinct skill set and training to talk the caller to gather the most information possible to guide to emergency responders on their way. They often talk through safety measures, CPR, and first aid procedures. They provide emotional support to a distraught person. Lauren's strength of maintaining her calm and reassuring presence is one of her assets. Though Lauren is normally most reticent, she continually pushes herself outside of her comfort zones. This past year, she has become a CPR instructor and a communications training officer instructor. She has also taken on the role of union liaison for the ECC. Lauren often volunteers to help with various aspects of training. She always seeks out opportunities to work on projects in the ECC, as well as peer support team, which she is a member of. She continually strives to better not only herself, but others around her. Lauren deserves this award because of her overall performance within the Emergency Communications Center and the example she continuously sets for her peers. Thank you, Lauren. The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue Administrative Volunteer of the Year Award is presented to John DeLeeper. The Administrative Volunteer of the Year Award honors a volunteer member of the system who, in the performance of administrative, non-operational duties, exemplifies outstanding performance in the execution of their duties and their outstanding service and dedication, which are keeping with the highest traditions of the fire and rescue system. Behind the scenes of every organization is a member working hard to ensure the organization can do what they do and do it well. That is true of John DeLeeper at Ashburn Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department. John is an integral part of the Ashburn Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department. Without him, our firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics would not be able to do their jobs in serving the community. John responds to every call day or night to keep Station 6 and Station 22 in tip-top shape. From repairing the bay doors so that on-duty staff can come and go as needed for emergencies in the community, to ensuring that every system is running properly for the safety and comfort of the crews. John is on it. John goes above and beyond the call as an administrative volunteer member, as he also leads our policy and procedures unit, where he ensures the common practices are carried out throughout our department and that we are within county, state, and federal guidelines. In addition to these two important positions, last year, John was elected by our membership to serve and make decisions on our board of directors. John not only holds many positions within the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System at Ashburn, from leading our facilities and maintenance unit, leading our policies and procedures unit, sitting on the board of directors, John can be found assisting with events and fundraisers that our community enjoys. Needless to say, he is busy with everything that he does here at the station. Many of John's responsibilities are behind the scenes, and he never wants or asks for any recognition. But you can ask any one of the members who he is or what he provides to the community, and the most common reaction that you will be heard is, well, we couldn't do it without him. Thank you, John. And now I'll ask System Chief Keith Johnson to now present the LCFR Civilian of the Year and System Recognition Awards.
Okay, thanks for hanging in there. We're getting to the end. Thank you. Sarah, you're already joining me up front, Ms. Sarah Huff. So the Civilian of the Year Award honors a civilian member of our system who exemplifies outstanding performance in the day-to-day performance of their duties and their outstanding service and dedication, which are keeping with the highest traditions of fire and rescue. When we think of Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System, one's thoughts turn to volunteer and career personnel in the field or serving in leadership roles at headquarters or at their companies. However, behind the first responders in our system leadership are the civilian personnel who lend their support to the entire system. The recipient of the Civilian of the Year Award, Sarah Huff, serves as a backbone of our health and safety and wellness section. Sarah is dependable, accurate with her work, and willing to assist anyone who may need help. Her skill set, knowledge base, and accomplishments within health and safety and our asset management division have resulted in personnel across the department reaching out for Sarah's assistance. Sarah's role as physicals coordinator or medical physicals coordinator takes a keen attention to detail to ensure that all of us remain in compliance and are out in the field working where they are when they are needed. Coordinating physicals for the entire system membership takes patience and professionalism as Sarah works out the inevitable hitches between providers and system members. In addition to her work as physicals coordinator, Sarah has taken on more responsibilities: fit testing, advanced cardiac screening program, participating in development of divisional reports, authoring the annual physical report, and producing articles for the Tone. Of note, Sarah was instrumental in assisting myself in drafting a document which communicated our position for the advanced cardiac screening program. Every year, firefighters die from sudden cardiac arrest, and our programs allow for medical providers to better assess their members' cardiac health. The health and wellness of our system members is my top priority, and many of ours. Our system strives to ensure operational system members receive the best medical evaluation possible. By using advanced medical imaging techniques, providers can look at the heart and visually enhance the accuracy of our cardiovascular risk. Not only does Sarah work well beyond the scope of her position, but she also strives daily to meet Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System's values of teamwork, integrity, professionalism, and service. Sarah spends needed time with our system members, county contractors, and staff to ensure all her programmatic initiatives are managed at an exceptionally high level. Her customer service values and skills are of the highest level, and her willingness to always step up and help anyone in need is evident by how staff reach out to her for assistance and expertise on matters. It is a great pleasure that we present Sarah Huff with the LC-CFRS Loudoun County Fire and Rescue Civilian of the Year. Let's give a shout out to all our recipients and those honored tonight, and a great round of applause. Chaplain Butler, if you'd come back and lead us in a benediction.
I'd like to offer extended congratulations to everyone here tonight. It's such an honor to be here with everyone. Kindly join in your faith as I offer a blessing in mine. Heavenly Father, it is with sincere gratitude that we thank you for being brought together to learn of the exemplary works and as well as dedication of our brothers and sisters that serve our community. As we set out from here, Father, I humbly ask that you watch over each of us so that we safely arrive at our next destination. In the days ahead, Father, I humbly ask that you continue to wrap your armor of protection around all of our brothers and sisters, keeping them safe and healthy. And I ask this in your name. Amen.
A couple last comments. One of the advantages being the MC, I give a last word. But seriously, though, there's one last group that on behalf of my colleagues, I do want to recognize this evening, and that is all of our families, friends, and coworkers who make what we do important. And we recognize that in many cases, these individuals sacrifice a great deal for our careers, whether those be volunteer or professional. And so I think it would just be remiss if we did not acknowledge all of them this evening as well. Following the completion of this ceremony, please feel free to gather around, take pictures, things like that. And on behalf of System Chief Keith Johnson and the Recognition and Awards Committee, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this evening. Thank you.